And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Holly and Amber Show. We are so grateful that you are here. I didn't know what to call it, so that's what I called it.
That is what it is. And so, yes, welcome everybody. We are emotion code, body code practitioners. And so we have a hunch that you found us because you were looking for something that has been missing in your life. And our focus this month of January 2021 is goals. And so we all start off making our goals at the beginning of the year. And actually, now that as we're mid-month, we're starting to already see people fail with their goals. And so we are here to help you remove your blocks and your resistance. And so it could be either you or someone you know that is having some difficulties with your achieving your goals. And so we're going to think that you know a little bit about the emotion code and body code, and that's how you found us. But otherwise, Amber really is excellent at being able to explain kind of the history of the emotion code and what we actually do in our process.
As Holly said, we are emotion code and body code practitioners. Holly is studying to be a certified body code practitioner. The emotion code was created by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He is a retired holistic chiropractor that as he saw patients coming through his business, he realized that their problems weren't going away. They weren't being solved. So let's say, they came in with an elbow pain and it just wasn't getting any better. When he dove deeper into it and meditated on it, he came up with this idea that there were emotions at the root of it. And so what we do is the subconscious knows everything. It's the mega computer of your life. And slowly we're learning more about it as research goes on, but you can tap into that subconscious and find what the root cause, what the source is of really whatever it is that you are feeling stuck in your life. So for example, today we are working on goals. Maybe you have limiting beliefs towards those goals. Maybe when you were 5, somebody told you that you couldn't do it. And now you had emotions attached to it. So every time you go to set a goal, you feel this blockage and then you shut down. Well, all of those emotions that you have from the past are now creating what I call anchors. And so they anchor in and create this blockage so that you can't achieve goals, that you feel stuck in your life. Maybe your health is taking a detour than what it is that you had wanted. And we think that it's current. We think that it's, right here, right now, this is what's happening. But what we have found is that it's somewhere in the past. We've all gone through negative life experiences that have created negative emotions. We have all gone through maybe some sort of trauma. And all of that stuff, unless we've gone through it, processed it, released everything that needs to be released, are creating blockages in our energy system. And so we come on Mondays to help you release some of that baggage, which is one of my favorite days of the week because I get to work with Holly, I get to show up here, I get to help you, and it's so much fun. So if you are catching us, let us know who you are, where you're coming from. It works kind of like how cell phones are working, or how you're watching us in your living room, or wherever it is that you're catching us from. We, everything is done by frequency. How you're watching this is done by frequency. And we connect to your energy through frequency, no matter where you are in the world. And we ask your subconscious yes or no questions. What is there a root to, you not being able to achieve your weight goal this year? What is that? But we work on micro goals, because if you do macro goals, you're not really going to see much shift. So it's the micro goals, right? So if you've got, I want to lose 10 pounds, what are some micro goals to get to that? Maybe it's, I have a resistance to eating vegetables. So I know that vegetables are going to keep me healthy, but I have this resistance to eating more vegetables to get to my goal of losing weight. So, we can go in and find the resistance, which is emotional based, as to why you are struggling to eat vegetables or drink more water, or maybe it's a procrastination. You want to grow your business, but you're struggling to get visible. So whatever that looks like for you. So let us know who you are, where you're coming from, what, little micro goal that you would like us to clear the resistance from, and the severity of it. So, what is the severity of that you feel is your resistance, or you feel is the blockage?
Yes. So all you have to do to volunteer is, number one, like Amber said, say hello, tell us where you're visiting from. We always find it fascinating. We can work with people all over the world, which is, just this incredible opportunity through modern technology. And so it's just fun for us to hear where everybody's from. So I'm located in Wisconsin, and Amber is outside of Toronto, and we work with people all over the world. So that's just always exciting. And so in order to volunteer, what we'd like you to do is just type your name into the comments, and you can say yes or I volunteer, and then let us know what issue you would like to give up. So tell us your problem, and that could be I need to clean out my shoe closet, or it could be I need to get to the gym once a week. Let us know. Actually, by volunteering, it's going to be an implied permission, and that allows us to work over this distance to actually connect to your energy system. And it's just like talking on the phone with somebody when your friend will tell you a story, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I get the feeling of this or that, that I get the feeling that you're really happy, or I get the feeling that you're really sad. And so by connecting, also, we do ask these yes and no questions, but they are very, I guess I want to say, like, they're an anonymous type of question. So it's not like we're going to ask anything that's invasive of your privacy. It's just, do you have something that's stopping you, blocking you from organizing your shoes? And we might get an answer of yes. And it's like, okay, well, does this have to do with a trapped emotion? And then probably the answer is yes. And then we go again through this chart that we have. I have one back up on the wall, but there's all kinds of different questions and topics on here. So then we ask, does it have we divide it into columns and rows, and that helps us narrow down to find out if whatever the reason is for you not organizing your shoes, it might have to do with something like feeling conflicted about something, or maybe you felt abandoned at one time, or maybe you're just wishy-washy and you can't make a decision. And then once we recognize whatever that particular emotion is, then we're able to clear it. And what we do is we just, because it's in your energy system and there's the positive and the negatives in your energy system, what we do is we use magnets and we run it over our governing meridian. Because you have given us permission to act on your behalf, we are able to do this on our end. If you are the volunteer and you would like to, when we are clearing you, if you also would like to move a magnet over your head, that can also just intensify the release. And I feel like I've got a tickle in my throat. So that's really how simple the process is. And some people have just one emotion that is stopping it. Sometimes you have hundreds, and we just really never know. And suppose you do have an emotion where you are wishy-washy. Well, did that happen to you only one time in your life? Or do we need to ask more questions and find out when that event actually happened? So we don't need to know what the event is, but we would say, well, we go through ages and we can whittle it down to say that it was, maybe when you were 20, or maybe when you were 8, or maybe when you were 6 months old. And so we can get it down, particularly if it was something past the age of 3 or 4, you might remember a specific event. And again, you don't have to say what it was, but that could be the event that triggered this emotion just getting stuck. And, as long as it's stuck, it's going to be holding you back and wanting to build on itself. And once it's released, it's amazing. Unless you've gone through the experience, you don't really know how amazing is it. I want to use the word magical, even though it's not magic. It's all based in in science and quantum physics. But it's just, it's like going into a stuffy attic and opening the windows, and it's like, oh, there's fresh air up here now. So we want to do that for your energy system.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're so, there's so much stuff coming at us that, we're going to stay where we're at, where, we need to manage, as opposed to why don't we get to the root of it and clear whatever the root of it is? Because somewhere along the line, something happened. We may have felt, you know, let's say, you're a little kid and your parents went to work. You may have felt abandoned. Doesn't necessarily mean that you were, but you may have felt it because you didn't understand what was going on. And that abandonment is going to stay with you for the rest of your life until it is cleared. And it might show up in relationships. It might show up with eating. It might show up in your work. It might show up in so many different places. And it wasn't, a huge significant thing that happened, but that's what you felt. And our feelings are all valid, but they also can create damage per se later on in life that we're not used to. And it's funny because the more that I study, the more that I realize exactly where things in my life were triggered. So for example, 0 to 9 months, that is when we're learning how to trust. And all depends on, where you were in the birth line, how much attention your parents paid to you, or I was left in, the cried out era, right? Where, they let you cry for a while. Well, imagine that little baby, and that little baby is crying, and they're not, they're starting to feel maybe vulnerable. Maybe they start to feel abandoned, even though mom and dad are standing right there. That's what we felt, right? And now that starts to affect the trust that we have going forward in life. And then it moves into, as we, I think 9 to 18 months is when we start to learn, we start crawling and moving around our world. We learn to not be able to trust our world. And it, like I said, it doesn't have to be this huge significant event. It's these, sometimes these little micro events that what we felt that is going on in our world. Especially, our parents had, other children, and so they needed to tend to them first or something else, right? So our needs weren't necessarily met in the instant that we needed them to be met. And so now, we're, later on in life, and we're, struggling to manage in different areas. And you can notice it when, if you were to sit and just pay attention to your life, where are you feeling triggered in your life? Where are you feeling that things just aren't happy or perfect, or in your eyes, what that looks like? That's when you know that you have a blockage somewhere. So maybe your business isn't doing the way that you want it to. Maybe your relationships, your health, all of those areas have a root cause. So we've got Judy that has come to us. She gives permission, working on decluttering her life. That's an awesome way to start the year. Presently working on my bedroom. She rates it a 6. So I'll go ahead and work on Judy.
Okay. I think it's just so funny that our example earlier was the shoe closet. So Judy, I'm wondering how your shoes are doing. That might be a project that you have yet to do. And then I've got a couple visitors. I have M. Rick, who recently had a surgery and wants to clear some blocks to healing. And I have John, who would like to give up his desire for dessert and belief that he's supposed to have dessert after a meal. And so I guess while Heather is working with Judy.
Amber.
I'm sorry. Okay, wait a minute. Where's my head today? All right, sorry about that. I don't know. I guess we're going to have a Heather that's going to come and visit us, because I don't know where I pulled that name from. So Heather, if you're watching, thank you for being with us, and we love having you here.
You're so funny.
Yeah, it's funny because Amber and I also work with a group of people, and one of the person who's kind of the leader of the group continually calls us each by the other one's name, which is so funny because we always know who he's talking to, but he's always calling me Amber and calling Amber Holly. So this name mix up, it just happens. Yeah. And I'm sure if you're a mother with multiple children, you just
I
get
I
into the
might
hey you know, you
I
over
think I've
there.
gotten to that point where I'm like, I actually have to consciously think about it. Like when they go, "Hey mom," I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Let's spend, 5 seconds thinking about which child that was and what's that child's name again? Because there's so many names that run
Mhm.
through my head, especially when, you've got the dog and the cats or, the husband and three
Yeah.
children. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, how come you never know my name? I'm like, I do. I gave birth to you. However, in that split second,
Yeah. I was thinking about something different. Yeah. So I think the real problem, it seems like your kids don't necessarily mind per se if you call them the wrong name because they know you're just confused. But if you do that with your spouse or a significant other, you'll get into kind of a lot of trouble for that one. That's always a tricky spot. So all right. So some of the emotions too that people can go through are, things the words on here on our chart are really big words. So it seems like, despair and disgust and helplessness and defensiveness. And so some of those emotions, if you think about the word like discouragement, it's like, if that's how you described your feeling, that's really you can understand where that feeling could give you a huge block, because if you're discouraged and despair, they're they're just not very motivational. And so the feelings that you have usually after a session, if that is the emotion that's released from you, or really any of the emotions that can be released from you, you just have this feeling oftentimes of feeling lighter, feeling more positive. Sometimes there is a processing time that can happen, and people can feel anything during processing. And so, Judy, it would be interesting to hear in the comments how you're feeling. I hope you could drink some water. That's one of the key ingredients in terms of helping our energy flow a little bit, is to make sure that we're really well hydrated. But, so some people can feel very tired. Some people can feel a little cranky if it's kind of a big one that they have to release. And other people just feel happy and giddy. Some people actually don't really even notice anything at all. They don't notice anything as like a significant marker. But like in Judy's case, instead of thinking, oh, this, rearranging my room or cleaning my room or having to go through all of my stuff can be such an overwhelming project. And instead, you might notice the feelings of like, wow, this is looking really good. I like what I'm doing. This feels so much better to get this all organized. I can't believe I put the project off for so long. And then as you are working on your room, I think you should also take a look at the areas that you have worked with and acknowledge that it's like, oh, that does look really good. And yeah, that does make more sense that I'm sorting it this way or that way.
Well, it's funny because I'm working on Judy right now, and she had an absorbed trauma of obsession, which means, we're either going to do two things with an absorbed emotion. We're either going to take it on ourselves. So then, we have this obsession, for example, where, we like to collect things, or, we don't like to get rid of things, or we try to avoid that emotion as much as possible, right? Like way back in our teenage years, when you got a pimple and you're like, try to avoid having it by doing all of the things and putting layers of makeup on or whatever, so that you try to avoid it. And so it's interesting what comes up when we're doing clearings, because everyone is different. No two people are made up of the same. No two people, even though we have all of these emotions, when something comes up, when I do a clearing for, let's say, the exact same thing, two people have a procrastination to, say, clearing their bedroom, the emotions will be different that are being triggered in order to create that discomfort or that procrastination. And so, identifying what it is and clearing them so that they're no longer in our system. And then it starts to feeling lighter. I know that when I've been decluttering lately too, and it took me to a really long, hard look at our external environment is really what is going on inside, and all of those emotions that I know for me, and there's been a lot of trauma in my life, and so it shows up in my physical world, all of this stuff that I'm holding on to. And so as I looked around my space, there was a lot of clutter because that's how I felt inside. And as I started to work on myself and started to clear all of this stuff, I started to feel lighter, because you get to the point where you're like, I don't care. I don't care that this is what my space looks like, because I just don't have the motivation. I just don't have the feelings within me to care. And that's when you know that you're going downwards, because that's how I felt. I don't care. And then when I started to clear and things started to feel lighter, and I could actually, you know, one day I just was like, oh, I'm just going to clean this space. And then it took several days to declutter and get rid of it. And I'm like, wow, I'm really proud of it. I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm not feeling ashamed. I'm not feeling all of these heavy emotions that every time I looked at that space, I felt the shame, the embarrassment, the disappointment, all of that stuff. I didn't feel anymore. And I was like, wow, I actually like being in this space. I'm excited to be in this space now because I didn't have all of that stuff that was driving it. So I'm just finishing up. So what it is that you saw me doing, or what you see Holly doing right now, is that you have, so we have trapped emotions. So those are the emotions that we felt, right? The abandonment that I spoke before that we felt, those are our emotions that when they get released, they have one of three options. We can breathe into them. We can release them by journaling, by meditating, by acknowledging them, by speaking to them, by really just sitting with them, journaling. What does this emotion mean? Where did it come from? And, thanking it and releasing it, however, whatever that looks like for you. Absorbed are other people's emotions. So we've all felt them. You've walked into a room and you can just feel that heavy energy. Or on the opposite side, you can feel that excitement that, maybe you were walking into a room and you were just kind of like, I just, whatever, I feel, nonchalant. And then everybody's excited. Well, you've absorbed some of that positive energy too. It doesn't always have to be negative. But when it's negative, that gets stuck in your energy field. Hidden emotions, I have found to be powerful. Not everyone agrees, but in my practice, when I identify a hidden emotion, it's something the subconscious doesn't want you to know. And they're, usually heavy stuff that comes up that we're denying ourselves. Inherited can come from your mom, your dad, they're generational. I've gone back as far as 121 generations. So think of, how long a generation is, 15, 20 years maybe. Go back, times that by 121. And so that's a lot of stuff that, a lot of lifetimes that emotion has carried on. And it comes from your mom or your dad. So just like we can inherit eye color, hair color, or whatever, we can also inherit trapped emotions. Going into the body code, we can inherit, sicknesses and energies of sicknesses and energies of bacteria and pathogens and toxins and all of this stuff that we are carrying forward that's in our cellular DNA. You've got vibrational resonance, so an emotion that is constantly vibrating that, just needs a little trigger and it sets it off. There's psychic trauma, which two emotions trapped at the same time create a new vibration. Or prenatal prenatal is an emotion that you absorbed when you were in the womb of your mom, and it's something that you've had a lifetime. And then I go into other things, like there's, even heavier. So the emotion code chart has 60 emotions. I add on different charts. The more research I do, and I love to research, the more information I have, the more stuff that I have at my fingertips, and can pull different things out of different areas and what that means. And so Judy says, you're dead on, Amber. Thank you. We have just lost our grandson in a tragic accident in September. Absolutely, you feel lighter as I declare my head. I'm so sorry for your loss. There are no words to describe, what you're feeling. That's a lot. And such a tragedy. I am so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, prayers for you, Judy, and your family. That is just, do come back and visit us, because I know in the future we're going to be doing some shows that would deal specifically with grief, because that is just a heavy bag that we all carry around for many different reasons. So we'll hold you in our thoughts and prayers. So Amber, before when you were talking about the hidden emotions, I think that's really interesting too, the hidden ones. And sometimes you can think, well, how can you not know that about yourself? And well, it's because you don't want to look at it. It's that memory that you maybe you want to pretend it didn't happen, or it's just too painful or too embarrassing to bring up again. And so it just so happened that I found hidden emotions. There was a hidden heart wall with John today with his wanting to give up desserts and this belief that he's supposed to finish a meal with a dessert. And so cleared that hidden heart wall. And so hopefully he will notice a distinct difference next time he goes to eat, and finds himself also, for people that are not familiar with this, what you find is that instead of always reaching for that dessert or thinking, I need to have it, suddenly it just is not appealing to you any longer. It's like, oh, if somebody can say, oh, we've got cake, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I think I'm full. I had enough. I don't really need some. And I think that's one of the most interesting thing. We've done many shows on deleting foods, and that is a fun one. Because it's just amazing. I know one of the things that was deleted for me in the past was potato chips. And I honestly don't really even like potato chips. They are not important to me. And all of a sudden, one day I started eating potato chips, and then I was always reaching for potato chips. And I would think, why am I eating these? I don't really even like them, but it's like, where's the bag of potato chips? And I better make sure I've got a stock supply. And so then I gave up the potato chips, and I can eat a potato chip, but I can eat one and go, yeah, I just really am not attracted to them any longer. So it's not like the food tastes bad, or it's not like I feel bad if I eat one. It's just, I can do without. So, and I see, Amber, that we are approaching the end of our time. So we're going to be wrapping up here. I do want to say a special shout out to all my USA friends, because today is Martin Luther King Day. So it's a big deal kind of day around here. And he certainly was a person that really changed the world. So all for the good. We need a lot of people to change the world as a whole for the good, or just the world that we live in. And so Amber and I are trying to do our parts by coming here every Monday to meet you. So we will be back next week, Monday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern, 11 o'clock Central, and 9 o'clock Pacific. And sorry, I don't have it memorized for our times around the world. I know our Australian friends are probably still sleeping. So anyway, hopefully you will be
I have
able
a
to join
hard
us.
time keeping up with my own time zone. I'm
Yeah.
also going live on Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I hold more of an open clinic. So if you have anything going on, we pull out the emotion code. We sometimes pull out the body code depending on what I feel might come up for you. So we have a lot of fun on that. And if you want to go deeper into what you feel your blockages are, both Holly and I do have complimentary consultations on our website at either getfeelingbetter.com on Holly's or mine's Not Tongue-Tied Within, where we can sit down with you one-on-one and really get to the root. Sometimes these little sessions are great, but we really want to go deep and to clear whatever it is that you've got coming up. So we look forward to seeing you then. So I will see you I will see you this Wednesday. If not, both of us will be back next Monday to deal more with clearing your emotions towards achieving your goals.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.